Starting now. This is Real People. Real issues. Real news. Real people.
I'm Stephanie Allensworth, and this is Real People.
This is Real People.
Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Stephanie Allensworth. My guest today is a writer and director from Hollywood, California. Please welcome Nat Christian.
Hi.
Hi, Nat.
Stephanie.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome, and I'm very flattered that you asked me to be here. Before we get started, can I just ask you, the book that you wrote was so good, so entertaining, and are you going to be doing a sequel to it?
Not a sequel, but I have another one coming that's called Home for the Finch Family. Oh. Also a true story, but thank you for asking.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, and I'm very flattered. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, when I heard you were coming into town, I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to have you on the show, so thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Now, tell us a little bit about the film that you shot here called Monday Morning. It was a pretty big production. Yeah,
Monday Morning. Well, thank you for asking. It was close to my heart. It was one from the heart. It's about a Minnesota right-wing radio host who has very right-wing views, and I'm not making any judgments on it. That's just what he was, and he goes to L.A. and through circumstances he becomes homeless, and he lives amongst the homeless community, and he's enlightened. I'm not a happy ending guy, and I'm not a politician, so at the end of the movie, he's at a crossroads. He's got to make a decision, and I would say that he doesn't make what we expect him. He doesn't make the kind of decision we expect him. It's very realistic, and it was a very powerful movie. I mean, I didn't pull any punches about what goes on in the homeless community in the back alleys. I got to tell you, shooting part of it in Minnesota, a lot of, like 30% of it, the Minnesota crew and cast were really wonderful. You know, in LA, when actors do a play or a film, and I'm generalizing, in the back of their mind they're showcasing. And we did that, you know, an agent, a Hollywood agent or a casting director is going to see him. The cast here were incredible, and they gave it their all. They're very real, very authentic, and the crew were just fabulous. So I'm hoping to do 2 more here, actually. That's why I'm here.
Well, well, we'll get back to that. So we'll just keep on going a little bit with Monday Morning.
Okay, sure.
So your budget. You did it on a relatively low budget?
Relatively would be a good word. It was $72,000. That's total.
Ultra. That's ultra low. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ultra low. And what I intended to do, because it's a homeless movie, it's not an easy sell. I intended to take the actors that I had, like we'd go to a coffee shop, and we'd blur out whoever got in front of the camera for releases, and we'd just shoot this movie. But one thing led to another, and I got a lot of favors, and I would say this to any independent filmmaker out there: just go out there and be honest with what you want. And I got locations, I got automobiles, I got a helicopter, as you know.
You got people?
I got you. You helped out here a lot. You were fabulous. And honestly, I could not have made the movie without you.
Oh, sure you could have.
No, we got the hotels, we got all the extras out here.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, so $72,000 was the total budget, and it won the Long Island Best Picture at Long Island, and it got into a whole bunch of other festivals, you know.
Awesome, yeah.
So it did go pretty good.
Is it out on Netflix or anywhere where people can look it up?
Yeah,
we'll put it up
on Amazon, and it's on a bunch of those, you know, streaming channels.
Sure.
There was a slight issue because it went from a mid-sized distributor to a big distributor. I don't mind saying their name. It's called Alchemy. And they're a very hot distributor at the time. And I thought, oh boy, I'm in the money. This is great. I'm shooting up. And 6 months later, I hear that Alchemy filed for bankruptcy. So it's like in bankruptcy hell.
It's the true Hollywood story.
It is true. And so whoever's got it is still distributed. You can find it online.
Okay.
And you can buy it, but you can find it online.
Yeah, I happen to have my own copies.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes, you do.
I should have a screening of it someday.
Yeah, right.
So we have a lot of really strange things going on here. And you know, in California, there's a huge homeless population that's going on now. So I think this film is actually quite poignant right now. And here in Minneapolis as well, we're having a big influx of Native Americans that are homeless, and they're really struggling to find places for these people. And I think maybe it's time for a re-release.
Well, I don't know how you guys do it in Minnesota because it gets cold and they're homeless. I don't really look at it as a homeless situation. I look at it as a hopeless situation. The characters in my movie were not the one paycheck away from a paycheck that became homeless, and they're clever enough to survive. The characters, as you recall, in my movie, in Monday Morning, are basically hopeless.
Hopeless,
you know, people say, well, when I was, I can go out and get a job and bag groceries. Well, no, not when you're raped by both parents, when you're 6 and you run away and you're drug addicted, or you're off in a war somewhere that you don't even know why you're there, and you're accidentally killing civilians, and you're screwed up, and they come back and there's nothing. We have no services for these guys.
Correct.
So they're hopeless, and it's sad because there was a very old homeless lady in Santa Monica, and I went to give her $1 and she wouldn't take it. And I read about her, and she came from a wealthy family. They put her in a house, they bring her home, and then she'd come out again. She had to be on the street. So it's really a mental health problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that happens here because it gets so cold, and I'm sure some of them are left out on the street.
Well, they find their way into shelters.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of shelters here, but obviously the problem is bigger than.
I think so. Do you think if you gave every homeless person a home, that would solve the problem?
Well, there's some communities that are doing that.
Yeah.
And they're saying that it's, you know, having good effects, but I mean, I don't know. I can't really judge that.
Yeah, and I don't have the answer either.
Yeah.
That's why in the movie there's no answer.
Right.
I'm not a politician. It was just like I have a flashlight and I go into a warehouse and I go, look, this is what I see. 100 other people have seen it too. They say, yeah, we've seen it too, but I'm saying this is what I see.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was hoping that it would have an effect. It would cause some kind of a change. Yeah, there's no sex, there's no violence, there's no, you know.
Well, there is violence, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's no, you know.
Well, speaking of other movies and what's selling, well, you know, let's talk a little bit about where Hollywood's going, where the film industry is going in general.
Okay, you're asking me, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, sure. That's right, I'm the guest here, right?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Last time I checked.
I shouldn't ask you a lot of questions.
You confused me, Nat.
Okay, so my opinion, and by the way, I'm wrong 42% of the time. I say that so I don't sound like a pompous, I can't say a-hole here.
Sure you
okay.
can. Yeah.
Okay, I think, and I said this about 20 years ago to these two producers, I think theaters are going the way Broadway or stage theaters are going. That people don't want to go and spend $15 a ticket and buy $5 worth of popcorn. And I said the criteria I use is if you're in Minnesota and it's 15 below zero, are you going to say, honey, let's jump in the pickup truck and go see this movie and get burned after we spent $60? People have big screens, they want to stay home, and unless it's really a big epic production, they'll go and just like Broadway. And they said, no, man is a social animal. I said, yeah, but that was before Starbucks and Coffee Bean and, you know, where you can go and sit with your laptop for $3, and you can get whatever you want, and that's social. So I think that's where it's going. I think if you make a $200 million movie like The Avengers and Black Panther, which was a terrific movie, by the way, then you feel comfortable spending $15 a person, $5 for popcorn, $4 for a soda. But if it's a drama with two people talking, much like this is happening here, I don't think people are going to go, it's not like the old days where boy meets girl, boy gets girl, boy, boy loses girl, boy gets girl. They all stay home and it's all streaming. That's where it's going. The distributor I met with out here, his name is Igor Prince, by the way. It's Prince Films, one of the more ethical distributors. He's out here in Edina. All of his movies go streaming. He doesn't even bother with the theaters. It's just so I think to answer your question, I feel that it's going to be like Broadway shows. If you have a $200 million production, tickets are going to be like $30. If you have a romantic drama between 2 or 3 people, it's independent. It's $74,000. Tickets are going to be like $6. You know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it's going to be streaming.
Well, there's nothing wrong with streaming either.
No, nothing.
And the days of selling the DVDs are pretty much gone too,
They're
aren't
gone,
they?
yeah.
Yeah, that whole market imploded. So
that's gone.
That
That's
was a huge market at the time when it first came out, and all of a sudden it just went because of streaming.
It's all digital.
Obviously.
You know, I want to
Yeah.
add one thing about the theaters is that people do want to escape.
Yeah.
If times are bad, they want to escape. Like in the old days, they went out and saw black and white Fred Astaire movies or whatever. It's an escape. So that's why the Avengers and the Black Panthers and the Star Wars are doing great. But eventually, I think you can escape with a really good romantic comedy too, which
Yeah.
I'll tell you about when you're ready for
Well,
it.
yeah, and I honestly believe people do like to get out of the house. Like, I don't want to just be tied up in my house all winter long. That's how you end up with cabin fever. So
Try it sometime.
you've got to get out.
Being tied up at home is not too. You're married.
Okay, this
Tell
is
your
on a
husband.
family channel now. Come on.
Okay.
So yeah, so I mean, you know, you got to get outside in the wintertime, especially in Minnesota, or
Well, I
you'll
guess
go a
so.
little cuckoo, you know.
I look at Minnesota. I love the snow, and I love the big drops, and I love the cold temperature.
You haven't lived here in a while, but
Okay, but I did live here for a while.
Yeah.
My wife will tell you, when I first moved out here, I wasn't used to the snow, so the steps right outside our front door were frozen. This was like, it was a big snowdrop. It was ice cold outside. I kept running in the kitchen, boiling water, running out, trying to melt the snow. And I realized I can't, I couldn't defeat.
You're only making it worse.
Yeah,
Just making it thicker. So how about going back in time a little bit, telling us how you got started and how you became a director, and then then we can start talking about what's coming.
Yeah, well, when I was 5 years old, no, I won't. No,
that's pretty
what
far
happened
back.
was I
Okay.
walked into a theater. I had like 1,000 jobs, okay? And I walked into the theater, and that's the first time I felt comfortable. I don't know quite how to explain it. It was just a little bit outside of the normal, but you know, we're all normal. And so I got into acting. I was at film school at Los Angeles City College. I was taking film, and people were asking me to act in their films. And I walked into this theater, and I moved more towards acting, and I got lucky. That's all it was luck. I had running roles on 3 soap operas and did a bunch of episodic. And I was a real serious actor, and I'm thinking, you know, I want to I was on General Hospital, and I was looking in the mirror, and I was saying, you know, if you quit complaining about the way things are going, go out and direct your own movie. And it took me 2 years to raise the money. And by the time I raised the money, I was too shy and embarrassed to say, by the way, I want to star in it. So I didn't, you know, so I did that, and that led to another movie, because they saw I brought it in on the budget, and then to another one, and then writing. I joined the Writers Guild, and that's what I've been doing since then.
Yeah. Well, good for you on the Guild. Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you.
That's a big
Thank
step.
You. Thank you.
Yeah.
But you know, I used to love the acting, but after a certain point, it became a little silly for me. I mean, I took it really seriously. My first job. Do you remember an actor named George Kennedy?
Yeah, of course.
So my first job was with him. I had one line. The line was, "Thanks, I appreciate it," and he was the star. It was called The Blue Knight. He was a cop in L.A., and I'm in a cowboy bar, and I'm supposed to be drinking, and George Kennedy's the cop. He sees the bad guy, the guest star, and he taps me on the shoulder. He says, they're having, they're looking for jobs at the bus depot. And I'm supposed to say, thanks, appreciate it, and get out. So he comes over, as we're rehearsing, he comes over, he goes, they're looking for jobs at the bus depot. So I look at him, I look at the guy next to me, drink my beer, look at the guy, get up, I go, thanks, I appreciate it, I leave. Director runs up to me and says, look, George has to be, his contract says he has to be out of here at 4:30, it's getting late, just say your line, get out. I said, well, look, okay, I'll do it. So did it again, I drink my beer, take my time, I say, thanks, I appreciate it. The director runs up to me and says, Nat, just say your line and get out. I said, well, look, if the guy needs a job, he's going to finish his. Just say the effing line again. So I learned my lesson quick, about the reality of the business and taking yourself too seriously.
But the reality is, though, that when they went to edit, they may have kept the longer piece in there because it was more natural.
They laughed and they got rid of me.
Oh, oh okay.
Yeah. I was taking up too much time. Anyway, that's how I got into directing. I think that was your original question.
Yeah.
One thing led to another, and I had an opportunity to do Monday morning, and just got blessed with great crew, actors. The lead actor Victor Brown, all the actors were great. And then, I know you don't like the spotlight on you, but you were very helpful when we were out here, and I could not have done it without all your help here.
Well, thank you, thank you. It was fun for me too.
Yeah.
I like to feel needed. And you threw me a line.
Yeah, that's right. You said hi, Tom, or no?
Yeah, it was hi, Tom. Hi,
yeah,
Tom.
That's right. It was. Yeah, we were sure to cut that out, by the way, but it's all right.
Oh, well.
No, it was in. No. It stayed in.
Well, it wouldn't matter to be cut out. Yeah. So now we're gonna talk about what you're working on now. You got a couple things in the
I've got
in the cooker.
Two projects. Like I mentioned, this guy Igor Prince.
I know him, by the way.
Do you? Mm-hmm. Oh, he's good. Hope it's a good relationship. Okay.
Yeah.
He wants to finance this horror script I have. And it's a stylistic horror. It's not your typical slasher type movie. I'd rather be gardening. I don't want to just do it a movie. Yeah. But it's got some style and it's got some uniqueness. So I'm really interested in doing it. And without getting too much into it, the basic premise is you've got these two brothers. One is very religious and one's a brilliant scientist, and they have this argument about theology and science. The priest, the religious brother, preaches religion and theology, and the scientist says numbers explain everything. And the priest says, well, in numbers, if there's a 4, there's got to be a 3 and a 1, or a 2 and a 2. And so when you talk about the Big Bang, that's the 4. How do you explain what happened before? Everybody says, well, there's this little thing that exploded. Well, what happened before then? And then the scientist has his argument. But anyway, somebody gets possessed, and a series of events happens, and the scientist gets involved in a very supernatural situation. I think it's stylistic, it's got some humor, and it's very scary.
Is it?
Yeah. So originally I wrote it for Louisiana because they had the old willow trees and all that. Sure. But there's some rural areas out here where I think it could happen. And again, I love the crew and the people out here. I'd like to just shoot everybody out here. If we do it at a very low budget, I hate the whole name game when they say, can you get this actor, can you get that actor? I just hate that. I'd rather just work with unknowns. So that's one. And then it's my musical. When I was a kid, I used to hide myself in the room and watch Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers movies. Oh, yeah. I have a big passion for that. And there's I have a musical. It's a tap dancing. The two leads are tap dancers. They're the only two that dance. It's not like a 501 commercial. Everybody breaks out and dance. Yeah. And it's a romantic, fun love story, but with style. And I can't find Fred Astaire, when he tapped, he didn't tap like he was at the front scrimmage line on a football. He wasn't, Astaire stood straight, and he was a gentleman the way he tapped. Yeah. And I'd be looking for that, I don't think there's an actor that's well-known that can do it. These are 21-year-olds. Yeah.
Well, only way to find out is to hold auditions.
Yeah, so we're the supernatural first, and we're in discussions on doing that one. I'm going to go back to LA. I'm budgeting the supernatural horror picture.
So what's your timing?
After the snow melts.
Of course.
Yeah, but sometime next.
So you don't have to throw boiling water out there?
Exactly. Actually, I thought that might be cool because, like in Fargo, if somebody dies and you see the blood in the sand. But no, I don't want to be yelling action. My toes froze the last time we did Monday morning. So but not for that. I think it's there's some reasons why it's got to be with no snow. There's a pool, a swimming pool. It's some issues going on.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm sorry. It'll be like late spring, middle to late spring.
Late spring for the horror movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so Sue Me, which is the musical, would be. I love the fall. Minnesota would be a first choice, but we're looking at Ithaca, New York, also.
Oh, Ithaca.
Yeah,
okay.
It's got a really nice, charming feel to it. They got a good, not organized film community there.
Yeah. And
have you been there?
No, but is Igor on for both? Is he looking at?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Igor, by the way.
Igor, I'm sorry. I envisioned his name in my mind, and I saw the I.
Yeah, right. Igor
yeah, that was silly. Yeah, my producer knows him too.
Oh,
him and I actually had met with him at one time. So.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so we'll see. Maybe we have to rekindle some communication.
Well, yeah,
with
let's
him.
all get together and do something. It sounds. I'd love to work with you again.
Especially when you're here doing this, we can definitely.
Are you interested in getting involved in production?
Why not? Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Because you were like priceless. You were great.
Well, thank you so much.
That's the last compliment,
yeah,
okay? This is my interview, okay?
A little more for my resume there,
yeah,
huh?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, do you need a talk show host or anything? And you're probably not in the script, huh?
I'll give you one line, how's that?
Not again.
Yeah, I'll be Hi Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, my claim to fame, huh? Oh. Excuse me. Oh, yeah. I've been fighting off a little bit of a cold. So.
Yeah. Well, that was a good experience with Monday morning here, and I just wish the film had, more people would want to see a movie like that.
Well, again, like I said, times are changing, and I do think that maybe you want to consider, maybe you can talk to Mr. Prince about this.
Yeah, re-releasing.
Yeah, do a re-release.
Well, it's released right now, but it's not. The contract's up in 2019, so it'd have to be re-released in 2019.
Okay, gotcha.
That's the deal. But I did hear, and I can't remember if it was Steven Spielberg or some great director like that, say they tried a One from the Heart movie, and nobody wanted to see it. This is before it became big. I think it was Sugarland Express. I don't know if you remember that, with Goldie Hawn. I thought it was a good movie.
I love
He's
Goldie
a really
Hawn.
terrific director.
I don't think Goldie can do anything that's bad.
Yeah, right, right.
Just her presence in a movie is enough for me.
But he, it's hard. You do it from the heart, and people have. People have to. They want to go out and they want to escape. They want to spend. They're going to spend money. So, sometimes it clicks.
Yeah.
Like Schindler's List clicked. It worked.
Well, yeah. I mean, those Holocaust stories always seem to have an audience. And they're hard for everybody to watch.
Yeah.
Especially something like Schindler's List, because it's some horrific things happen, and and they can continue to happen in the world. We just, it's just not in front of us right now. Well, so often, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think, we're going back to where movies are going. I think once in a while you can do One from the Heart. The other thing I would like to see is this. I'll try to explain it the best way I can. When you're driving, you listen to a song, let's say an old rock song or something, you remember the time and place, and like for me, if I listen to Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, which connoisseurs will say is schmaltzy, but I love it, I get the same feeling every single time I hear it, even though I know where it's going.
Yeah.
With movies, it's what they teach in film schools too. Scripts are beginning, middle, and end. There's plot twist on page 22, 23, 24, whatever. It's formulistic. American movies, at least.
Yep.
And I'd like to see it go where it's not. I don't think I have the skill yet, or I don't know if I can do it. But I'd like to see if it goes to a place where you can see the same movie 100. I don't mean 3 times, but 100 times. The way you listen to, let's say, an old rock song or a classical song, and get the same level of feeling each time. Yeah. I'd like to see movies go there, more expressionistic.
For me, those are comedies. what movies that I can watch over and over and over again, it's always a comedy. I have my
Really?
two favorites.
Which are the two favorites?
So people are going to laugh at this, but Spaceballs.
I'll laugh at that, okay? Let me laugh.
And Arthur.
Well, look, I'm due back on Earth in about 2 minutes. I'll just
I know, isn't that stupid? But yeah, I know. Those are the ones
Arthur's pretty good.
I will stop for those. I know, it's silly, but that's why I like it so much. It's silly. It's campy and silly and just really well done. So
I can watch Carol Burnett, maybe, Carol Burnett show, over and over again. I can watch a TV show, or Laurel and Hardy.
Oh, I love
I can watch early Laurel and Hardy.
Oh my gosh, some of my favorite stuff is Laurel and Hardy.
Those are Abbott and Costello, those guys. But yeah, I can see where comedy, you know, do you get the same feeling every time you watch it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I don't like to get too weepy at movies. So it's like, oh yeah, that looks really good, but I just don't want to cry.
I saw a movie not too long ago where I kind of got weepy, but I thought it was a terrific movie. I thought the director did a fantastic job. He had never directed a movie before. And the critics were 50-50 on it, but I loved the movie. It was called The Greatest Showman.
Oh, we just watched that.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
And the critics were like 50-50.
Yeah, I don't always believe what the critics say, just because they've got a whole different scorecard than I have.
Yeah. Well, the director, he was a special effects guy. Mm-hmm. And I just thought he did a great job all around.
We're kind of running out of time, but we've got about, half a minute left here, and...
Okay, I'll talk really fast.
Well, no, we definitely want to keep in touch and find out when things start happening around here. We'll do an update. Maybe you'll come back here on the show, and we'll do another update about it.
Yeah, I would love to do it.
And we'll see how everything's going, and just kind of, keep it in front of people as much as possible.
Okay.
And, you get some free advertising that way.
Okay.
And you get to be on television instead of just in the movies.
Okay, well, thank you.
Instead of just in the movies, right?
I hope I was a good guest for you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being here, Nat.
Thank you.
As always, you and Charlotte are the bomb.
I love her.
Yeah. So join us next time on Real People. Until then, Stephanie Allensworth with Nat Christian.
Bye.
Thank you.